Okay, so this video is on question 3. What I'm going to be doing is talking about how this answer could improve from a band 2 to a band 3. Okay, so in the source, the writer uses a simile to show that he is comparing two things. Okay, that is a good point sentence because it's picked out a technique. However, you would want to be more specific in your point sentence and actually say perhaps what two things the writer is comparing. As I can see here, black and white humbugs as shiny as a marble floor. So the answer would have been better if it had said to show that he is comparing sweets to a marble floor, and that would have been more specific. Okay. The word marble floor is used because the writer wants to show the marble floor is similar to the sweets that he is describing. This technique makes the reader imagine how the sweets would look like to himself. Now, lots of good things about this analysis, but where it falls short is that it doesn't actually explain two things in detail. Okay, so the words marble floor is used because the writer wants to show the marble floor is similar to the sweets that he is describing. Okay, now I'm going to continue that here on this sheet because what the answer needs to do is actually explain. So he's saying that the marble floor is similar to the sweets, but what does that actually mean? So the writer wants to show the marble floor is similar to the sweets he is describing because, remember that word again, the writer wants to demonstrate perhaps how shiny the sweets are, and I'm going to take that even further. So sweets are because marble floors are shiny. You think that, you know, that's really simple and straightforward, but what that actually is now a developed explanation. Okay, so the writer wants to show that the marble floor is similar to the sweets. Okay, so we need to say how they're similar because the writer wants to demonstrate perhaps how shiny the sweets are because marble floors are shiny, and that's the similarity. Okay, so the writer is comparing the marble floor to the sweets because he wants to emphasize how shiny they are. Okay, this technique makes the reader imagine how the sweets would look like. Okay, now we need to explain actually how the sweets would look like. What would they actually look like in particular? Now we can't say the same thing again because we would just be repeating ourselves. So we need to think, if we are going to continue this, we could finish, you know, the answer, the paragraph there, but if we want to continue this and actually say what makes the reader imagine. So marble floor is quite, like real marble floor is quite, you could say, connected to like cleanliness or like luxury, something like that. So it makes the reader imagine, and I'm going to continue this answer down here. Let's have that as 1 and have this next one as 2. So this makes the reader imagine how let's say clean and perhaps how the sweets are, I don't really want to say luxury, let's just have a think. So we could say, so if we want to say that okay, I can't really think of another word at the minute. So how clean and perhaps how the sweets are luxurious because marble floors are connected to, I don't know, we could say expensive hotels or expensive rooms. It's an expensive material. If you use real marble, so marble is an expensive material, expensive and luxurious material. Okay, and that explanation is a little bit better now because you're actually explaining how the reader would imagine it. So now the answer can achieve a band 3 if we read it like this. So, in the source, the writer uses a simile to show that he is comparing the sweets to a marble floor. This is clearly shown in the text. Black and white humbugs as shiny as marble floor. The words marble floor is used because the writer wants to show the marble floor is similar to the sweets that he's describing, because the writer wants to demonstrate perhaps how shiny the sweets are, because marble floors are shiny. This technique makes the reader imagine how clean and perhaps how the sweets are luxurious, because marble floors are connected to expensive hotels. Marble is an expensive and luxurious material. Always read over your answer just to check you've got everything there, okay? Now, that answer took a bit of thought by me. As you notice, I did pause to think there a little bit about my answer and a little bit about what I was going to say, and that's what a band 3 student would have to do. They would have to really think about what they're saying. Alternatively, I think the answer could have stopped there because that's a good developed explanation. This is also developed because it considers other things. It considers why the writer has used it and also what the reader imagines. Both are developed. You could have had either of one in there for one answer. Because it is an exam and you want to save time and you want to move on to the next paragraph, the answer could have done just this and it would have been developed, or the answer could have done this and been developed as well. Okay. Perhaps one thing you want to do in the exam is think about something different that people would say. If you say something a little bit different, then the examiner will take notice of you. So I think this is developed, and this is a developed explanation will get you band 3. This is also a developed explanation, but the student would have, it's required a little bit of different thinking. Also would get you a band 3, but maybe would more likely to push you to the top of band 3 because you thought of it in a different way. But what's really important about this, and what's really important to remember, is that you need to be really specific. So avoid saying things like comparing two things, because you could say that about any simile. And also, don't underestimate the use of this word because. Okay, if you can see here in my explanation, I've used it here, I've used it here. What's the media origin? How because marble floors are connected to expensive hotels. Also, okay, so words like also, furthermore, because really sort of develop your answer. So what I would probably do when I get to this question of the exam is to actually write because at the top of the page, maybe circle it just as a reminder to myself. And if you're going to write 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs on this question, I would keep going back to this word and maybe ticking it off every time I've used it. And in one paragraph, you would have hoped that you'd use it at least twice. So you should have 6 ticks on here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or maybe even 8 if you've done 4 paragraphs, yeah? Don't underestimate the importance of this word. This will really push you to a band 3. Good things about this answer is I really like the way it is structured. You've got clear point, evidence, explanation, focused on language, lots of really good things coming out, but this word would have pushed it up a little bit more.